Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving into something pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's almost like a very human problem. We're talking about AI overthinking,
Uh-huh.
but specifically we're going to be looking at large reasoning models,
Uh,
or LRMs, and how this overthinking can really trip them up.
Yeah, it's a fascinating problem, really.
Yeah,
We always think more power is better, but
right. More is always better, right?
right. Well, researchers at UC Berkeley are finding that there's this
Oh,
delicate balance.
oh,
And their work uses a benchmark called SBench Verified,
okay.
which tests LRMs on real software engineering tasks.
Wow, so like real world stuff.
Real world, yeah. And what they're finding is that sometimes these AI can get so bogged down in all the thinking that they struggle to actually take action and learn.
Okay, so that's kind of counterintuitive, right? So we've got these powerful AIs that are designed to think deeply,
Right.
but they're stumbling because of too much thinking.
Too much thinking, yeah.
So what's the core issue here?
So it's something that the researchers are calling the reasoning action dilemma.
Okay.
And basically, LRMs are constantly like wrestling with this idea of
Uh-huh.
whether to favor elaborate internal simulations, so basically thinking things through in their minds,
Yeah.
or taking action in the real world and learning from the feedback.
Oh, I see.
And getting stuck in that internal world that seems to be like a big part of the overthinking problem.
So it's like they're overanalyzing every possible scenario and
Totally.
getting paralyzed by like all the possibilities and
Yeah,
never actually making a move.
exactly. They get so focused on predicting every outcome that they can't actually
Right.
interact with the real world, which is where the real learning happens.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
Now, the research lays out these three patterns of
Yeah.
overthinking.
Uh-huh.
Do these kind of map onto anything we see in like us as humans?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
The
cool.
first one is called analysis paralysis,
Analysis paralysis.
which I'm sure we've all experienced. It's that feeling of getting stuck in the planning phase.
Oh, yeah.
You can't move forward because you're just overwhelmed by all the options.
Totally.
And for AI, this might look like spending hours generating, complex code sequences, but never actually executing any of them.
Oh, wow.
It's like a chess AI that can map out every possible move, but never actually makes a play.
Oh, that's a good analogy, yeah.
Yeah,
The second pattern is rogue actions.
yeah.
This sounds a bit more chaotic.
It is. This is where the AI tries to do like way too many things at once
Okay.
and ignores the sequential nature of a task.
Oh.
Like imagine a cooking AI that throws all the ingredients into a pot at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah, instead of following, the steps in a recipe.
Oh, yeah.
They're not thinking about the logical flow of actions. They're just trying to do everything all at once.
Wow. Okay, so that obviously leads to a big mess.
Yeah, big mess.
So what's the third pattern?
So the third pattern is premature disengagement.
Okay.
And this is when an AI just gives up on a task before even trying,
Oh, wow.
based solely on its internal simulations.
Interesting.
So think of like a self-driving car
Okay.
that refuses to make a left turn because it's predicting like really heavy traffic, even though in real life the road is totally clear.
Wow.
Yeah, it's basing its decision on these assumptions instead of real-world data.
Okay, so these really do mirror some of our
Right.
human behaviors.
Very human.
But how do the researchers actually know that the AI is overthinking? Can you really like measure something like that?
That's what I think is so impressive about this research is that they've actually developed this scoring system to quantify the overthinking
Wow.
based on these three patterns.
Okay.
And what I think is really clever is that they use another LLM.
Another one.
Yeah, so basically another AI.
Judging AI.
Yeah, to act as a judge. So this LLM as a judge analyzes the actions of the AI that's being tested
Right.
and assigns an overthinking score based on those patterns.
So they have like AI judging AI. That's so interesting.
I know, right?
Did they compare those judgments to like human assessments?
Yeah, so they did. And that's one of the most compelling findings is that the scores from the LLM judge actually closely matched the assessments of human experts,
Wow.
which suggests that this scoring system is actually really reliable.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, this is all really fascinating from like a research perspective, but let's talk about the practical implications of this.
Yeah,
Why should like the average person care about AI overthinking?
right.
What's the real impact on, like the real world?
Yeah, that's the key question, right? Like, why does any of this really matter?
Right.
Well, first and foremost, overthinking just makes AI less efficient.
Okay.
And, remember these large reasoning models, they required a ton of computing power.
Yeah.
And that translates to real costs for the companies that are developing them and using them.
Uh-huh.
So when these models are stuck in these overthinking loops,
Yeah.
They're essentially just burning through resources without getting any useful results.
So it's not just a theoretical problem, it has a real, like,
Yeah.
dollar value.
Yeah, a direct impact on the bottom line.
Wow. Okay, so that's a big deal.
Yeah, but what's really encouraging is that the researchers have found some, like, pretty simple strategies to help mitigate the overthinking,
Okay.
and they can dramatically improve performance and reduce costs.
So that's good news.
Yeah, it's good news.
What are some of those strategies?
So one technique is basically having the AI, generate multiple potential solutions to a problem
Uh-huh.
instead of just focusing on creating one really complex solution.
Okay.
And then they use that scoring system that we talked about
Right.
to evaluate each solution, and then they pick the one that has the lowest overthinking score.
Oh, it's like giving the AI options
Right.
and saying, like, which one is
Yeah.
the path of least resistance?
Exactly.
The one that's not going to take you as much.
Yeah, it doesn't require as much mental gymnastics.
Right, exactly.
And the results are actually really impressive. So in their experiments, this simple strategy actually boosted performance by almost 30%
Wow.
and reduced the computational cost by 43%.
That's huge.
It's massive.
Okay, so are there other, like, promising approaches for tackling this problem?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So researchers are exploring techniques like function calling.
Okay.
And that's basically where you give the AI specific tools to interact with the environment.
Uh-huh.
So kind of like a set of predefined actions that it can take.
So instead of, like, starting from scratch every time, it's got, like,
Right.
a set of tools that it can work with.
Yeah. And that can help streamline the decision-making process
Okay.
and prevent it from, getting bogged down in too much planning.
Interesting.
Another one that's really promising is reinforcement learning.
Reinforcement learning.
Yeah. So that's where you reward the AI for taking successful actions.
So it's like training a dog.
It is. Yeah.
They do something good, you give them a treat.
Exactly. You reinforce the good behavior
Yeah.
through positive reinforcement. And so in this case, you're encouraging the AI to, be more action-oriented.
So, like, actually make a decision.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this research was focused on software engineering tasks,
Right.
but it seems like these mitigation strategies could have, like, broader applications?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the fundamental problem of, balancing this reasoning with action,
Right.
it's relevant to any field where AI needs to operate in, like, a dynamic real-world environment.
Right.
So we're talking self-driving cars, medical diagnosis, financial modeling.
Yeah, it's endless.
It's endless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So this is all pointing to a future where AI is not just, like, smarter,
yeah,
but also more efficient
more efficient. Yeah.
and practical in how it, like,
Right.
applies its intelligence.
Exactly. That's the goal. And this research is like a really crucial step in that direction.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about making AI better at certain tasks. It's about, like, really understanding the nature of intelligence
Uh-huh.
and how to design systems that can actually learn and adapt
Right.
to all the complexities of the real world.
That's awesome. Before we wrap up, I'm curious to hear your take on something that the research touched on.
Yeah.
This idea that, AI can overthink. What does that tell us about intelligence itself?
Ooh, that's a really fascinating question.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has, like, a simple answer,
Yeah.
but it does make you wonder, like, if overthinking is this inherent part of any intelligent system, whether it's biological or artificial,
Yeah.
maybe it's like a byproduct of just being able to simulate all these possibilities,
Yeah.
to weigh all the options and to consider, like, the consequences.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe it's not something we can totally eliminate, but
Mhm.
rather something that we need to learn to manage,
Exactly.
both in ourselves and in the AI we create.
Yeah, I think that's a really insightful way to put it.
Cool.
The key is really just finding that balance between, thoughtful deliberation and decisive action.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like we've only just, like, scratched the surface here of this whole overthinking thing.
Uh-huh.
But
It's a big topic.
it is a really big topic, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's time to start wrapping up our deep dive. For our listeners who may be just tuning in, can you give us a quick recap of
Sure.
key takeaways?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started by looking at how overthinking, something that we usually think about as a human problem,
Yeah.
can also be a problem for AI as well.
Right.
Specifically, these large reasoning models,
Mm-hmm.
these models that are designed for such complex thought, they sometimes get so caught up in these internal simulations
Yeah.
that they struggle to actually take action and learn from real-world feedback.
Totally. And we learned that this tendency to overthink can show up in these 3 different patterns: analysis paralysis, road actions,
Yeah.
and premature disengagement.
Right. And it's fascinating that these patterns, also mirror behaviors that we see in humans,
Totally.
which, makes you think that maybe there are some, like, fundamental principles of intelligence at play here.
Yeah, for sure. And then the researchers from UC Berkeley,
Yes.
they developed a pretty clever way to actually measure this overthinking in AI,
Right.
using another AI to be the judge.
Yeah, like an AI judge.
And they found that even using simple strategies to mitigate that overthinking, like giving the AI different options to choose from,
Yeah.
can really improve its performance.
And reduce costs.
And reduce costs, yeah.
So that's great.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what's like the big takeaway for our listeners? What do you hope they'll, remember from this whole deep dive?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that AI, even the most advanced kind,
Yeah,
is still a work in progress.
for sure.
We're learning more every day about how to design these systems
Right.
that can really learn and adapt to how complex the world is.
Yeah.
And overthinking is just one challenge that we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good reminder that intelligence, whether it's, artificial or human, isn't just about like processing power. It's about finding that balance
Totally.
between like, thinking things through
Yeah.
and actually taking
A
action.
sweet spot.
Yeah, and that's a lesson that we can all, take with us.
For sure.
Whether we're, coding AI or just living our lives. So
Well said.
as AI continues to evolve,
Yeah.
I think we're going to keep seeing all these really fascinating insights
Totally.
about what intelligence even is.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool field to be following.
It is.
And we'll be here to guide you through all the latest breakthroughs
Absolutely.
and all the big implications of this, crazy technology.
For sure.
Until next time, stay curious, everyone. And remember, sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to just stop overthinking it
Right?
and just take action.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.